There is a moment in every person's life when a quiet, uncomfortable question appears. It doesn't arrive loudly, it doesn't shout, it whispers. It asks, why do some people make it and most never do? You see it when two people start from the same place, with similar resources, similar intelligence, similar dreams. Years later, one is living a life that looks extraordinary, while the other is still explaining why things didn't work out. That gap is not luck. It is not talent alone. It is not destiny playing favorites. It is the difference between the 2% who succeed and the 98% who don't. The truth is uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. Success is not rare because it is complicated. It is rare because it is inconvenient. The 2% do things the 98% are unwilling to do consistently, especially when no one is watching, applauding, or encouraging them. They think differently when it would be easier to think like everyone else. They act differently when blending in feels safer. They persist when quitting would be socially acceptable and emotionally soothing. The 98% live in a world of intentions. They want to improve their lives. They plan to start tomorrow. They believe they have time. The 2% live in a world of decisions. They decide even when clarity is missing. They act even when motivation is low. They move even when fear is loud. While the majority waits to feel ready, the few understand that readiness is a result of action, not a prerequisite. One of the biggest reasons the 98% don't succeed is because they confuse consumption with progress. They read books, watch videos, attend seminars, listen to podcasts, and feel inspired. Inspiration feels productive, but it is not the same as transformation. The 2% use learning as a tool, not a comfort zone. They learn one thing and immediately test it in the real world. They stumble, adjust, and move forward. The 98% keep learning without applying, mistaking information for growth. Another quiet killer of success is emotional comfort. The 98% are addicted to feeling good in the short term. They avoid discomfort, confrontation, boredom, and uncertainty. The 2% understand that discomfort is not a signal to stop, but a signal that growth is happening. They don't romanticize struggle, but they don't run from it either. They accept that progress often feels awkward, lonely, and unrewarding before it feels fulfilling. The 98% ask for permission. Permission from family, society, circumstances, or timing. They wait for approval before trusting their own instincts. The 2% give themselves permission. They understand that no one is coming to officially declare them ready. They take responsibility for their choices, knowing that blame is a luxury they cannot afford. When something fails, they don't ask, who's at fault? They ask, what can I do differently next time? Fear plays a central role in this divide. Both the 2% and the 98% feel fear. The difference is not courage versus fearlessness. The difference is interpretation. The 98% see fear as a stop sign. The 2% see fear as a direction sign. If something scares them, they examine it closely, not to eliminate fear, but to understand it. They know that fear often guards the doorway to growth. The 98% are obsessed with outcomes. They want guarantees. They want proof that their effort will pay off before they begin. The 2% focus on systems. They commit to daily behaviors regardless of immediate results. They understand that success is rarely dramatic in the beginning. It looks boring. It looks repetitive. It looks unimpressive. But over time, those small, consistent actions compound into results that look miraculous from the outside. One of the most painful truths is that the 98% outsource their self-worth. They measure themselves by opinions, likes, praise, and recognition. When validation disappears, so does their drive. The 2% build internal standards. They care about quality even when no one is watching. They keep promises to themselves, which builds a quiet confidence that does not depend on applause. This internal alignment becomes a powerful force that carries them through moments when external motivation dries up. Time is another separator. The 98% treat time casually. They believe they can always start later. They trade long-term growth for short-term pleasure. The 2% treat time as non-renewable. They protect it fiercely. They understand that every yes is also a no to something else. This doesn't mean they never rest or enjoy life. It means they choose consciously instead of drifting unconsciously. The 98% talk more than they execute. They announce goals prematurely, which gives them the emotional reward of progress without the work. The 2% stay quiet longer. They let results speak. They understand that energy spent explaining is energy not spent building. Silence becomes a strategy, not a weakness. Failure exposes the deepest difference between the two groups. The 98% personalize failure. They see it as evidence that they are not good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough. The 2% depersonalize failure. They treat it as data. Something didn't work, so they adjust the approach. They don't tie their identity to a single outcome. This emotional resilience allows them to stay in the game long enough for success to become inevitable. Another reason the 98% stay stuck is because they underestimate consistency and overestimate intensity. They look for dramatic breakthroughs, viral moments, overnight success. The 2% trust the quiet power of showing up every day. They understand that excellence is not created in bursts, but in habits. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on structure. The 98% wait for perfect conditions. The 2% work with what they have. They understand that clarity comes from movement, not contemplation. They don't wait for confidence to act. They act, and confidence follows. They don't wait for energy. They move, and energy appears. Social influence also plays a role. The 98% surround themselves with people who normalize mediocrity and complain about circumstances. The 2% are intentional about their environment. They seek people who challenge them, stretch them, and remind them of what's possible. When that environment doesn't exist, they become their own standard. The harsh reality is that the 98% want success, but not the lifestyle that creates it. They want the reward, not the repetition. The recognition, not the responsibility. The freedom, not the discipline. The 2% understand that success is not something you get. It is something you become. And becoming requires change. This is not about superiority. It is about choices. At any moment, anyone can choose to move closer to the 2%. It does not require extraordinary talent or perfect circumstances. It requires honesty, patience, and the willingness to feel uncomfortable longer than most people are willing to tolerate. If you feel a quiet discomfort while reading this, That's a good sign. It means something inside you recognizes the truth. The line between the 2% and the 98% is not fixed. It is crossed through daily decisions that seem small, boring, and insignificant in the moment. The question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you are willing. Will you stop waiting for permission? Will you stop negotiating with your potential? Will you choose discipline over distraction, consistency over comfort, and responsibility over excuses? The world does not need more people who know what to do. It needs more people who are willing to do what they know. If you want to be part of the 2%, start today. Not with a dramatic overhaul, but with one honest commitment. Keep it, then keep the next one. Over time, you won't need to convince anyone that you're different. Your life will quietly prove it. And when you finally look back, the question will no longer be, why only 2% succeed? The question will be why you ever thought you couldn't be one of them. Now is your moment. Decide, act, stay consistent, and step into the version of yourself that the 98% only talk about becoming.